All right. Good evening, everyone. We are going to get started. We're just going to give just a minute or two to kind of allow people to come into the meeting and to get settled. So we'll give everyone just a minute or two. Awesome. Great. Okay. We'll just do another minute or two and then we'll kind of get ourselves going. All right. All right. Well, we will officially get ourselves started for tonight, and I know that some people may pop in. But first and foremost, I want to welcome everyone tonight to our first of three workshop series that we're offering to the class of 2025 and their families. In a normal year, we would have had all of the eighth graders come up to the high school on our homecoming weekend. There would have been opportunities for families to come into the high school and tour and to also experience a little bit about what's to come in high school. And because of our protocols and restrictions, that we needed to kind of think outside the box a little bit. And so we've put together a series of events. One, we hope that all of our families were able to see, or hopefully will see at some point, the ChooseMHS video that we did of the new school, because this rising ninth grade class will never be in the current building, that your whole 4 years will be spent in the new high school. So it was important for you to see what a day in a life is like in your new building. And now with the rest of our series, we have our event tonight, which I'll introduce our presenters tonight. Next Monday night, December 7th, we have a team of teachers that's going to be talking and giving words of wisdom to our eighth graders as you're making this important decision. And then on Monday, the 14th of December, we're going to have our seniors, so that you'll be able to have 3 different perspectives of our student body in regards to why they like Middleborough High School and love our school, as you're making a really important decision. To start, my name is Paul Brannigan. I'm the proud principal here at the high school. And I'm really excited to get to know all of you and to meet you and to hope the fact that you will be spending your 4 years here at Middleborough High School. It really is a great place. And I've spent my entire career here as a history teacher, as a department chair, as an assistant principal. And now I have the good fortune of doing the greatest job I've ever had, is serving as the high school principal. And there's no other place I'd rather be than here. So I welcome all of you tonight for this event, as we will help engage and to answer your questions. I first and foremost want to thank Mrs. Latender, the principal at Nichols Middle School, and Miss Moriarty and Mrs. Foley for their help in putting all of this together. That they were so kind to put out a document to all of the eighth graders and their families, asking them questions or asking them to send questions about things you'd like to learn about the high school. And we took all of those questions and we were able to make it work. And we're really excited to see and what questions that we're able to answer for you. So it's important to note that all of our questions that we have tonight all are coming directly from our eighth graders. So these questions that we have here are really in place. And we lost Jake, so I'm wondering if he ended up losing power. Hold on. Oh, here he is. He's back. We'll add him back in. Jake, welcome back. So with that being said, what I want to do is we'll go around and introduce ourselves so you know who this wonderful team is These are our class officers for the class of 2024. And they have done a wonderful job of transitioning up to the high school and really helping guide this ninth grade class to one of the most unprecedented openings of the school year I think we've all experienced. So Ella, I'm going to turn it over to you to start. So would you mind introducing yourself and maybe share some of the things that you're involved in at the high school or hope to be, and also maybe what your favorite class is and why?
Hi everyone, I'm Ella Morris and I'm the class president. And my favorite class is Biomed because I like learning about the body and the functions. And I'm also looking forward to playing on the Middleborough High School softball team.
Great. Awesome. Thank you, Ella. We look forward to seeing you out on that team playing in the spring. How about Gavin? We'll go to you next for an introduction. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gavin Fritz, and I'm the vice president for the freshman class. And I'd say my favorite class is TV Pro. The reason is that it's a really fun class. You get to show your creativity with the projects. And for extra credit, you even get to record games. Like I recorded a couple soccer games, and I do the swim team.
Awesome.
This is my third year.
Great. Thank you, Gavin. I do remember you at one of the soccer games standing up on top of the new press box. And it was a pretty cold day, if I remember, and you were in shorts and you weren't cold at all, but we were cold for you. So I'm glad that you're liking TV Pro. And so welcome tonight. Kendall, we're going to turn it to you next for an introduction.
Hi, I'm Kendall Santos. I'm the class secretary. My favorite class, agreeing with Ella, is probably the biomedical science. I like that it has a little bit of everything for everybody, and if you're interested in the medical field or even forensic science, so that one's definitely high on my list. I'm on student council, and I am also on the swim team with Gavin.
Great. Awesome. That biomedical class I know is a lot of fun for everyone who takes that class. So welcome tonight, Kendall. Nate, we're going to turn it over to you next. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Nate Goodine, and I'm the treasurer, and my favorite class is probably world history because I like learning about the world we live in and the past. And I'm also involved I'm on the football team here at MHS.
Awesome. Nathan, welcome. And I love the fact you love world history. It was my favorite class to teach when I was still in the classroom. So welcome tonight. And Jake, we're gonna end with you tonight in terms of introduction. So welcome.
Hi, I'm Jake Collegiero. I'm the member at large, and my favorite class, agreeing with Nate, is probably world history. I don't know, I just like learning about history, and here at MHS, I'm a part of the football team, basketball team, and lacrosse team.
Awesome. Very good. Very good. Thank you, Jake, very, very much. And we're going to be hoping that we can all maintain our connections tonight because we know we have quite a stormy evening tonight. So we're all doing the best we can with maybe slow internet or potential freezing from time to time. But I'm very grateful for the five of you for joining us tonight to kind of share your experiences to our community that's watching, that we've been in school now for 12 weeks. And we were chatting earlier, the six of us, about how in a normal year there would have been 800 people in the building. And Nathan had made the comment about that really the only people that's in the building right now besides the ninth graders on his days are the seniors. And I will tell you that this ninth grade class has done a phenomenal job of transitioning to the high school. Before I begin with the questions, I want to share with the eighth graders and your parents and guardians who could be watching tonight with you that one of the things that's so important is that the transition to ninth grade is by far one of the most important transitions you're going to make in your life. And that we at the high school take the transition to high school really seriously because it is such an important transition. And so we also respect and recognize that you're making a really important decision for you is where you will spend your high school years and where you will graduate from. And so we hope tonight, as you are hearing the questions that I'm going to be posing to our officers, and that the answers that they would like to share, that this is an opportunity for you to be able to really see what this team has done and what they're hoping to accomplish in their 4 years here. So they've only been in the high school for 12 weeks, and what a crazy journey it has been with all that's going on. But we're going to start. With that being said, I'm going to bring Jake back in because I think he keeps getting kicked out. Welcome back, Jake. Sorry you keep getting bumped out. But we're going to start with you tonight, Gavin, if you may. So these are the questions that came in from our 8th graders, and I'm going to ask the first question to you, Gavin. So really the question is, why did you choose to come to MHS? And to build from that is really, are you happy with your decision? Why or why not?
So I came to MHS because the environment and the atmosphere is great with all the teachers, and a lot of my friends are going there. So like I knew a lot of people, and everything seemed nice, welcoming. And MIT, which is my dream college, I know they offered that really good thing, and they also had a swim team, and I definitely wanted to go on the swim team because it's like the sport I'm really good at, and I saw a lot of opportunity for myself. So that's why I came to MHS, and I don't regret that decision ever. I'd say it's one of my best choices I've made.
Awesome, Gavin, thank you. And I look forward to watching your journey over the years and your path to hopefully get into MIT. So good for you. I'd like to build, Jake, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you the same question. So why did you choose to come to the high school? And are you happy with that decision, Jake? Oh, Jake,
did you come to high school
come through?
Because I thought it was just the best decision for me. Also,
oh, I think he got booted again. So we're going to go back to Jake. So he took a little bit of a side trip away from the screen for a moment. I know he seems to be having some trouble tonight with his internet. Kendall, would you mind if I turn it over to you to kind of build from that of like why you chose to come to the high school? And are you happy with that decision?
I definitely am happy with my decision to go to MHS. I definitely chose to go there because it was part of like the community that I grew up. I grew up in Middleborough. I went to school with everybody who was in Middleborough. I knew some teachers at the high school, so it was definitely the best choice to make. So I definitely did it because of the community that I grew up in.
Great. Awesome. Nate or Ella, anything you'd like to add to that of maybe why you chose and kind of maybe to add to the conversation?
I've always known I wanted to come to MHS because I think from 2nd grade, I've always wanted to come here, and it's definitely my best decision, and I'm glad I knew that I was coming.
Awesome. Well, Ella, I've known you since the 2nd grade, I think, and I've been looking forward to you coming to the high school for a long time. So I'm glad you chose us as well. Nate, anything to add as well? Not to put you on the spot, Nate, but is there something maybe to build from?
Yeah, just like everyone said, like all my friends are Middleborough. I've grown up here my whole life, so like Kendall said, the community of Middleborough. So I kind of made the decision based off that, and I don't regret it at all.
Wonderful. Awesome. Well, thank you, Nathan. Thanks you for all those answers. And, we know the fact that as you're transitioning to the high school, that has been something that we know is can be a challenge. But I'm so happy that you were able to feel that your transition has been smooth on that part. So Kendall, we're going to start with you next, if that's all right for that question. So what has been one of the most exciting things about your transition to the high school?
Sorry. Personally, for me, being able to take part in like the activities and the sports and the clubs and the activity, I already said activity, was probably the best part for MHS for me. In middle school, they have more clubs. They have clubs, but in the high school, it's definitely, you can be more involved. It's more common, I guess, to be more involved. I think that was definitely a big part of it. And then the high school always has some really interesting classes to take, more than you did in middle school.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And it seems like that biomedical class is a class you're really enjoying very much, so which is great. Gavin, could you add to that by any chance? Like, what has been one of the most exciting parts about transitioning to the high school?
I'd say the most exciting part for me was being able to choose my own classes. I really like the diversity and variety how you get to choose your own classes. You get to also choose if you want college prep or honors, and later on you get to choose AP if you want. So, honors and AP counts as better credits and stuff. So if you really want to get into like a good college, I'd suggest doing honors or AP. It would be really helpful.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you, Gavin. Nate, what have you found to be really an exciting part of your transition?
Going back to what Gavin said, like being able to pick your own classes, you're given much more freedom in the high school than you are in the middle school, and it's really good. I like it. And also being like connected to school through like sports or clubs, as Kendall said, it's really great.
Yep. Nathan, I'm going to build off something you just said, that there is significant research out there, and I deeply, deeply believe this. You talked about actually how that by your involvement in things, there's like a connection to school, and that there is unbelievable research out there that talks about that the more that students get involved in school, especially at the high school level, the more that school makes sense. They feel connected to it, they understand it, they get it, and they just really want to be a part of it. So when you just mentioned that, Nate, I just thought it was such a powerful statement, because I always will say to students, this is a place where you really want to try to choose something to get involved with. Because if it's playing that sport for the first time, or it's going out for that play, or it's joining student council or the Key Club or the GSA, whatever it may be, to do something to make those connections, it helps school make sense on all other levels. So Nate, I'm really appreciative you made that comment, because it really is such a powerful, a powerful statement you made. Ella, anything to build from that?
To tag along with what Gavin and Nate said, I think the most exciting part was to pick my classes and be able to know what I was going to take and be excited for them on the first day of school.
Nice. Very, very good. So now let me ask a question on the reverse, because we're talking about something that was really exciting, but I think it's really important to talk about a challenge, because we know the fact that when you came up to the high school, there were some really unique challenges we were all experiencing with all the COVID protocols and whatnot. But if you were just take the transition into the high school, your new classes and the new schedule and environment and all of that, what has been something, and Nate, I'd love to start with you on this one. What is something that you would say has been the most challenging part about transitioning from the middle school to the high school?
I'd say the hardest part, especially right now because of the pandemic, obviously, is wearing masks and the longer class periods, I'd say, because in middle school, they're only like 45 minutes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now they're like 80 minutes or something like that. And you really have to pay attention during those minutes to get your work done.
Right. So it's the longer periods of the day, of the block, because our schedule right now has 86-minute periods in it. So it's a longer period of time. Would you find that for all of you that many of the teachers, they try to break it up into chunks of things? So there maybe you'll do 20 minutes on something and a half hour on something else to try to help with that process in many ways. It's kind of helping to chunk the block. So it's not just that straight 86 minutes of something. It really does give some of the, kind of nuances of maybe a lecture a little bit to an activity of some kind. So Nate, I can imagine that that transition to the longer period of time is something to get used to as well. Kendall, could you build from that as well? What have you found to be something that you found to be a real challenge for you?
I think that a new challenge was definitely being able to develop your time management and study skills. It was extremely different from middle school versus high school. Not different bad, different good personally, but I think it was definitely an adjustment, being able to develop on those different skills personally for me.
Absolutely. I think everyone's probably nodding their head like, yep, I hear you, because I think for all of us, that still sometimes is a challenge of those time management pieces. So Kendall, thanks for sharing that. Ella, what about you? What have you found to be something in regards to your own transition to the high school that was a unique challenge for you?
I honestly really agree with Kendall. Time management is really big. Just get your work done and then you'll be good.
Great. So that time management and really scheduling it, because one of the things that that you may sometimes have found is that, the teachers sometimes are all giving very different, that are giving all very different assignments and all of that. So that you may end up finding the fact that, you may have 2 tests in one day or something like that, which sometimes it's going to happen at the high school level. So Eller, I appreciate the importance of you sharing that time management piece as well. Gavin, we'll wrap it up with you. What has been something you found to be a unique challenge for you in your transition to the high school?
I found the most challenging thing is like getting around the school, because like your classes are in different spots instead of it just being on like a single floor.
Yep.
Like TV Pro was all the way on like the first floor, while biology was on the third floor. So I would always have to like race to get to those classes, and I feel like I got like lost along like the first week of school, and it took me some time to get used to it, but after like a week or so, it was fine.
Great. And I'm sure with the one-way hallways and the one-way stairwells right now, that it added to the complexity of getting from biology to TV production, Gavin, I'm sure, for all of us, just the navigating of a school that's all one way and all of that. So I appreciate those responses. Anything else you wanted to add to anybody? Not to put anyone on the spot there, but is there anything else you want to build from that in terms of the unique challenges, or something you think would be an important addition, if anything, from what everyone has shared? All right. I'm just checking one thing. We just got a note from Jake. He's trying desperately to get back in, but his Wi-Fi is not cooperating. So, Jake, if we can have you join us, we'd love to see you again. But we also understand the stormy night is not helping us tonight. So what we're going to do is we're going to move, and I'd like to talk a little bit about academics. So we talked about really the exciting things about the high school, the engagement, the sports, the activities, your favorite classes, and the things that really find it to be exciting. We've also talked a little bit about the challenges that you may have had in your experience of transitioning to the high school. What I think would be really important has been, what has the academic experience been like so far? What is something that you needed to do to adapt? And Kendall, I'd love to start with you, if that'd be all right to do that. So what has been your academic experience been like so far? And I know you love biomedical, which is awesome. So maybe just kind of talking about in general about what has your academic experience been like, and maybe something that you've needed to adapt to the high school classes or get used to and all of that.
My academic experience so far has definitely been a really positive one. Like I said before, definitely creating time management skills and study skills were like the biggest part for me, is that you could have 3 tests on the same day and you need to be able to like adapt to that. So I think that was like the biggest part in learning that, like, okay, there could be 2 projects and 2 tests on the same day, and you need to get all of those done, and you can't wait until the last minute to get all of those things done. But the teachers have been extremely helpful. Like, if you ask a question, they're always there to answer it. So I think it has definitely been extremely positive for me, at least.
Great. That's awesome. Nate, what about you? I'd love to hear what your academic experience has been like.
My academic experience has been great, and all the work, it's pretty straightforward. You just got to pay attention and you'll know all the work. It's pretty easy. That's the keyword. The keyword is pay attention and you'll get stuff done. Very, very good. Ella, what about you? What has your experience been like?
I think mine's been okay. I'm kind of struggling, but if I, like, as Nate and Kendall said, I think if you pay attention, you'll definitely be okay. It's hard to like adapt with the mask and stuff, but I think if you pay attention, you'll be okay and you'll be good.
Well, Ella, and I appreciate your candid answer about that there's going to be certain classes that I think for all of us, that there's certain classes that you could spend all day in, like your biomedical class, maybe, Ella. You could spend all day in there. And then there are other classes that sometimes that you like them and you need them, but they may not really just kind of get you excited like other classes may. And that's all part of that experience of high school. It's that you're going to find where your passions are, but you're also going to see really where you are as a student as well. And that whole journey of growing and evolving in your own person of who you are. So I'm really grateful that you shared that you know, had these moments of struggle, because I don't think there's a ninth grader out there who hasn't had those moments of struggle as well. So I'm really grateful you shared that candid answer. So I appreciate that. Gavin, what about you? What would you like to add in terms of your academic kind of experience so far?
I actually found my academic experience to be easier than middle school because how like the classes are divided up in 2 semesters. So I find it to be more organized and easier than it is in middle school. And
Right.
I agree with Ella. Like wearing a mask is definitely hard. That I say that's like the hardest thing for me at least because like I don't know, I have a hard time breathing without the mask or with the mask. My bad. It's like with the mask and it kind of like makes it hard to breathe. I'd say that's definitely the hardest thing for me.
Right. And I think everyone would agree with you, Gavin, on that front, on that, on so many levels, that it gets a little old after a while wearing them all day long. But I know that your teachers are supposed to be doing mask breaks, and I know that you do get them, and which is nice. But I hear you on that. It's kind of hard when you have to wear it all day long. And one thing that for our community to know is that right now we're in a position where all of our ninth graders are in their cohort. They're taking their history this semester, their science, their PE classes, and their technology classes. And then next semester, when we flip in the new semester, that's where they'll take their math and their English and their foreign language or world language, and also the fine arts as well. So by the time that the school year is done, they would have had the full menu of options in regards of what we offer. So I think it's just an important piece of kind of building from what Gavin shared, of just in regards to what our schedule looks like as well. So we do have a block schedule. It is 4 periods in a day. And I know that is something that we're really aggressively looking to change over the time. So it's a lot of work to do that, but we are looking to see how we can actually modify the schedule in some way over the time that many of you will be at the high school. So with that being said, Eller, I'm going to turn it over to you for our next question, because one of the things I'd love to maybe have you share is really just kind of the feel of the high school or its culture and all of that. And so I'd love to have you get a sense, in the midst of the 12 weeks you've been here, in the middle of a pandemic, you know, what has just been kind of the vibe and the feel of when you're walking the halls of your school?
I have found the school culture to be very friendly, welcoming, and very exclusive. The upperclassmen, teachers, and administrators are extremely friendly and helpful. So if you ever need anything, any questions, always ask us, the sophomores, freshmen, juniors and seniors, the teachers. They're all very friendly and helpful.
Awesome. Very good. So Nate, what about you? What have you kind of found about just the feel of the high school and everything?
Like Ella said, it's very friendly, welcoming. It's also really helpful. Like everyone is just willing to help. I remember one time I got lost and a teacher helped me, like where to go, tell me where my class was and how to get there and everything.
Great. Kendall, what about you? I know we just lost Gavin as well, so hopefully he'll come back in a minute. But Kendall, what about you? What has been that kind of feel or the vibe for you of your school?
I'm definitely going to agree with Ella 100% on it. Everybody has been extremely friendly. All the teachers and upperclassmen and administrators, everyone is super like eager to help. Everybody wants to help. Everyone wants to make your experience better. So definitely agreeing with them 100%.
Good. Welcome back, Gavin. Gavin, we'll kind of finish up with you with this question. We had just asked the question about just the vibe and the feel of your school. So in the midst of the pandemic and 12 weeks of being in your school, kind of what is the feel that you have for your building, for your school?
I'd say that like everyone's very empathetic and everyone's like super understanding that like because of the pandemic, like it's going to be harder to get stuff done, and everyone's been really respectful about that. And I think it's really nice for everyone to be nice about it. And sorry I keep leaving. My connection's messed up, and yeah, I know the storm.
That's all right. No worries. We're appreciative you were able to get back in, Gavin.
Yeah,
I think to kind of build from your answers, I would just say that I think in school culture is one of the most important elements of a school. And I think that it is something that we really work very hard to always make sure that it is stronger than ever. And I think that with all that has gone on this year with us in terms of a year without big events like a homecoming and those things that bring a community together, I'll tell you that this ninth grade group has done a phenomenal job of really taking their place in our school. And I'm really excited to see what this team does over their journey with us at the high school, and excited that this ninth grade group will be one of the leaders to walk into that new high school in a few months. So I appreciate those answers there. Gavin, I'm gonna go to the next question to you. This was one of the most kind of, I think, asked questions of our 8th grade. And the question was something to the effect of, what is the biggest difference between the middle school and the high school? So just in terms of what you've experienced, you spent 3 years at the middle school, you've been at the high school now for 12 weeks. So what has been the difference you have found between the two places?
Definitely a great question to ask. Well, I think the biggest differences are that there's 4 quarters and that the classes are split. So instead of having 3 trimesters where you have all your classes, you have 2 quarters where you have your first half, and then your second half, you have 2 quarters for your other classes. And I found that to be better because, I don't know, I think it's more organized, like I said before. And I don't know, I feel like you can get stuff done. It's more time managing instead of having to worry about all classes at once. So you just have to worry about 4 out of 8 classes. And I found that to be way better than having to do everything at once.
Yeah.
It's definitely been a lot easier, and I've been doing better in high school than middle school.
Good.
Definitely.
Well, and I think it's important to note, to build from that, from Gavin, I appreciate your answer, that there is such a big difference between a middle school and a high school, and just for various reasons. And so many times that jump can be really empowering for people. It can also be a little scary because you become really used to the way of middle school and the schedule and the classes and all of that. And then you go into a high school and it's really different. Just like when you were from elementary school to middle school, that was a big jump too, wasn't it? And that's why when we look at actually that question of what is the difference? There are going to be things that you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I love this aspect of my day now. And there also could be things where oh boy, this is really a lot because I really liked the certain aspect of my prior experience. So I appreciate your answer, Gavin. Kendall, I'll go to you next. What has been kind of one of those biggest differences between the two schools, or your experiences?
I think personally for me, one of the biggest differences was being able to, because you got to choose your classes, you kind of had more fun with them. So your different electives that you could choose, I think it was easier for people and myself to get more involved because you were having more fun in the class because you were more interested in it. So like you said, with my biomed class, I was definitely interested in everything that was going on. So I'm having a great time with that because I'm really interested in what's happening. So I think it's definitely much better by the fact that you're more interested and more engaged on what you're actually doing because of the fact that you're interested in it and you got to choose the class. Yep. So I think that was one of the biggest differences for me.
Awesome. And that is an important factor because at the high school level, it's a student-driven schedule. So what that means is, to Kendall's point, is that in the 8th grade, when your guidance counselors, are now called school counselors, from the high school came down and met with all of you to do your schedules, you really got to choose the classes that you wanted. And that's a really big piece of the high school experience. And I just want to build for something, because I know Kendall and Ella, both of you are doing the biomedical program which is part of our Project Lead the Way. And that's a 4-year program that you would build in the biomedical field over 4 years. So every year you would take another class to build on your first year introductory class to biomedical. We also, offer a computer science pathway as well as a engineering pathway as well. So really excited for those. Our current junior class was the first class to do biomedical and engineering. So they're entering their 3rd course in the series, and it's some really exciting stuff. So Kendall, I appreciate your answer to that. as well. Um, you know, Ella, what about you? What have you found to be one of the biggest differences for you between your experiences at the middle school and then experiences here at the high school?
Honestly, I think it's just like the work is more like if you're in honors or CP, if you're in honors, it definitely like goes much faster. You didn't really have that option in middle school. So if you're like stuck learning, the teachers are really nice, which they were in middle school.
So when you're talking about the
That's
leveling,
pretty
Ella,
much.
then it's the academic levels that you're talking about, right? So that in the ninth grade that you can choose two levels. So you can choose college preparatory or you can choose honors. And that the curriculum is the same, the content is the same, but the only difference is there may just be the engagement of how they engage in that content may be a little bit different. And so there may be certain things that in an honors level course that maybe, to your point, Ella, the pace of it or the speed of it may be a little different than maybe what you would see in college preparatory. The other thing would be when you become a 10th grader, you can add in the level of advanced placement, which is really at a college level expectation as well. Nate, if you could build from that as well, just kind of what have you found to be a biggest difference between the two?
I think a big difference is that, like in middle school, I would always see like the same people and the same like friends. I'd see all my friends every day, but in high school, it's so much different. Sometimes you don't see like certain people, some of your friends every day. It's so much more divided, and in lunch you don't. The whole class isn't there. It's all split up into different sections with different people.
Yep, awesome. Nate, thank you for adding to that. So when you're looking at your comparison of the schools, that it's really about just kind of the structure of that, and the schedule would be different and the classes will be different. But one of the things that I've always loved about the transition of the middle school to the high school is that the two schools work so closely together to kind of help with that transition. That it really helps us be able to get to know you. Because the one thing that if you remember when you came to Start Strong, which, oh, by the way, I think it'd be important to talk about your shirts because you're all wearing your green shirt. So as part of our school, that our classes have a class color. So our ninth graders are green. And their kind of mantra for the year is all about starting strong. So they all got their green shirts. And one of the things I said to all of you when you did our Start Strong orientation program, which for the upcoming ninth grade, that we're going to target to do this in August to make it really the real deal. Let's hope we'll be in a better place to do that. But one of the things about our Start Strong program is I tell all of the ninth graders that the exciting part about high school is that many times, and I'd love to hear your feedback on this as I say this to the officers that are here. One of the greatest things about high school is I think it's an opportunity for a fresh start. And that there's very few times in our lives where I think you can literally walk into a space and walk into a new arena and say that I can now be whoever I want to be because no one knows me. And I've always believed that at high school, it's really an opportunity to start anew. It's about trying those new things and about experiencing those new courses and activities and really just kind of charting a new course. And I just didn't know whether or not if that's something that you would think would be an important message to our rising ninth graders who are making some pretty important decisions. So Gavin, would you build from that answer at any point? I know I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, but I think it's such an important element of what we were just talking about.
So we're talking about like the difference between middle school and high school, right?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Yeah. So I definitely say like the transition is a lot more different, and the fact that you got more responsibility instead of like it's more or less of having people hold your hand, like from elementary school where like I don't know they guided you with everything. The middle school you started getting a little more freedom. High school it's basically like you're an adult, you're ready to move off to life, and this is your future. You get to decide anything. Like you can decide to be
right,
whatever you want.
Right. And it's about really charting your new territory and really charting your path. And the one thing I always say to our seniors every year before they graduate is I always say to them, I hope you're leaving with no regrets. And that if they do have regret, what would be the message they'd want to share with our ninth graders? And that is something that we're going to be doing in our third workshop series for our eighth graders, where we're going to be talking to the seniors. And really, now that they are close to the end of their time with us, is really what has their experience been like overall, and really what are those regrets potentially? Let's hope there are none. So Gavin, I appreciate that answer very, very much. Kendall, I'm going to go to you with our next question, because I think it's a great lead in to what we were just chatting about. But, you know, in terms of actually, this was one of the other most asked questions in the survey that went out to our eighth graders. And the question was, do you ever regret your decision about coming to MHS?
I definitely have never regretted my decision to come to MHS. I knew that it was definitely the right spot for me by looking at the classes and thinking, oh, I would like to take that class and I want to do that activity. And obviously, like, your friends, like going to high school with your friends and going to the people that you're close with and have like relationships with is definitely like made a big impact. But definitely like looking at the classes, and you start to realize like what the right spot is for you by looking at the different classes, the different clubs, the different activities, the different sports. It definitely like makes it easier. But no, I haven't regretted coming to MHS.
Good. Awesome, Kendall. Thank you for sharing that. Nate, could you build from that? Is there anything you would say or add to that in regards of you know, your decision to come to the high school?
I also don't have much regrets. I think it was a great decision on my end to come here, and as Kendall said, I think it's a great fit for me to further, like, after high school, my life and everything like that, and go to a good college.
Right. Well, you know, Nate, you said something that I think is an important part of the story that you tell in high school. So one of the things that we always try to say to our students is really, what kind of story do you want to tell? And when you start your new chapter on the first day of ninth grade, what is that final chapter going to look like when on the day you graduate from the high school? And that the one thing that you all know is that now everything counts, is that it's important, the fact that you're going in with that sense of, I really want to do this, because every decision that I'm making, it now has an impact in regards of really those next steps. And so I'm really happy, Nate, that you found that this has been a great spot for you. Ella, could you build from that as well? Is there anything that you've thought about in regards of your decision to come, and any regrets to it?
I've never regretted it. I don't think I ever will. It's probably my best decision to come here. It's definitely my best.
Great. Awesome. Thank you, Ella. Gavin, what about yourself?
I do not regret coming ever. I don't regret having the idea of coming to this school. I'd say everything that I've planned out in order to come here, I'd say I planned out really well over the years, and I've been thinking about it a lot now that I know what it actually is. It's way better than I thought it was first, since you're actually in there getting the experience. You got friends, teachers. It's almost like family. So I'd definitely say, like, it's something you would never regret.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that, Gavin. I really do. I have a question that came into the chat, and I'd love to, I know we have one final question for the night, but I think this is an important one, and I'd love to have it just be for any of you that would like to maybe respond to it. It says, as an incoming freshman, have you found it challenging to balance the academics with your clubs and athletics? Have you found that that's been part of when we were talking about really that transition and the time management and all of that? But have you found that that has been a challenge? And I know that our sports this season has been a little bit strange in regards of seasons and all of that. And I know that as I'm looking at all of you, that none of you actually were in season this fall. But really, for maybe as we're beginning swimming, we're beginning, you know, football is on the horizon, softball is coming. Is there anything that you found that in regards of challenging to keep balance? Just to throw it out to anybody. Kendall, go for it. I appreciate your engagement with this.
I definitely At the beginning, our swim team, we did have a couple practices, and I think it was a little bit difficult at first balancing them and realizing, okay, I have to get all of this done before I go to swim practice. So I think it was a little bit of a challenge at first, but I think once you start to get into more of a routine, it gets a little bit easier.
Yep.
And then always the teachers are really helpful. They're always really responsive to emails. So I think it was definitely a little bit of a challenge to be able to like get started, and like I think just like getting a routine was definitely the most helpful part, is realizing, okay, I have to do this, I have to do this before I go to this. I have to like make sure that I time manage well and be able to get everything done.
Yep. And sometimes I'm going to keep this question. So for the student that asked it, I am very appreciative of your question, because I'm going to hold on to that question and make sure that it is the question that I ask the seniors. Because one of the things that we've also found, in that the research shows too, truly, is that it talks about the more that someone is engaged. We talked about how school makes better sense. But it also is the fact that the more the times that students are engaged, to your point, Kendall, is you had to learn how to manage your time and find those balances and say, all right, before I can do this, I got to make sure I get this done. Or I know I have practice, but I want to make sure I get all my homework done. So when I come home from my late practice, I can really just simply get everything done. And I know, Nate, for you playing football, that's been something for you, because you did have some late practices this season, as you were kind of doing some of the prep work for the season. So for you, I'm thinking, did you have to kind of prioritize things? Like, in order for me to kind of make sure I can go to practice and I'm gonna get home a little late, I got to make sure all my homework is done and all of that. Was that something you had to kind of navigate too, Nate?
Yeah, at first, like, I had to figure it out, and then after that, like, after the first practices, I balanced it, and it became easy after that.
So it's about establishing those routines. And so I think for that student who asked that question, we really appreciate it. It's really about really finding those routines and figuring out what works. But I would say that when you look at actually a lot of the students here that are really involved, and they're student athletes and they play 3 seasons of a sport, that from an academic standpoint, they tend to do very well, because they're able to really kind of manage that time and then really figure out how to prioritize. And I've had many athletes say that they academically, they've done better when they're in season than a season where they don't play, because they had to be so regimented and they had to be so organized as well. So we appreciate that question very much. So now to the 4 of you, and we're so bummed that Jake got bumped out. The Storm is not cooperating with him, we know. But I'm really appreciative of Jake and his ability to join us for the short amount of time he was with us tonight. But for the 4 of you, I'm going to ask this final question, and I would love for all of you, each of you, to kind of share your words of wisdom. So one of the things that right now for so many of our 8th graders is that they're having to make a really important decision for them about where they will be spending their high school career, their final chapter of their school experience. And so I would love to be able to learn from the 4 of you to share with those that are watching tonight those words of wisdom. So why should they, the class of 2025, become a sachem? So, Nathan, is it all right if we start with you?
I think all the incoming freshmen of next year should become a sachem, because it's overall a great community, and it gives great opportunity for everybody, and it has everything possible to get involved with, and all the teachers and students here are all very welcoming and helpful.
Wonderful. Good advice. Gavin, would you like to add to that? What's your words of wisdom to the class of 2025?
So my words of wisdom, like, never give up, always do your best, because, I mean, if you really think about, high school is a big part of your life, so you always want to do good. And if you're ever struggling, think of the word impossible. Think of impossible as a challenge that can be completed. Think impossible as possible, just on another level. Think of it as like a hard challenge, such as like climbing Mount Everest. Say you lost a hiking shoe. You can still do it. You will always conquer it if you give it 110.
Great. Awesome. Gavin, wonderful advice. And Kendall, we'll kind of go to you next for your words of wisdom.
If I could give really any reason for the eighth grade to come to MHS, it would definitely be how like it has, Middleborough High School definitely has something for every person. If you're interested in engineering, there's an engineering classes, a bunch of different classes that you can take that I don't even really know off the top of my head, but there's definitely something for everybody, even not even just with the classes, with the clubs and the sports, there's definitely something for everybody. And it definitely connects the school. So everybody's like, oh, I had that class with them, or I had that club with them. So I think everybody's really connected at this school just because of that. So like everybody has a little bit of something, and it definitely like brings everyone closer together because they're like, oh, I knew them from this and them from that. And I think it brings people together.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, Kendall. And Ella, what it would be, as the class president, what would be your words of wisdom to the eighth graders sitting at home thinking about what their next, what this big decision they'll be making in their journey?
I think you guys should come to MHS because it is a very great community. There's so many new things to try out. There's so many clubs to get into. It's a great environment. Honestly, you make so many new friends, and I think it's the best thing you could possibly do.
Awesome, Ella. Well, I appreciate that response, and to our eighth graders and their families that are watching tonight, one of the things that we want to make sure is, I've always said this to the eighth graders, that if you have certain questions, I want you to be, feel free to email me. And if there's a question about the high school that you would like to know more about, and we know the fact that for Nate and for Ella, Gavin and Kendall and Jake, they'd be more than happy to help answer a question as well. I think it's an opportunity for you to explore. And on behalf of all of us here at Middleborough High School, we're really excited to know the fact that potentially you're going to become part of our community and our family. And to know the fact that this class will be the first class to spend all 4 years in the brand new high school is really kind of special. And so we can't wait to see you again. Our next program is going to be next Monday night at 7 p.m. We'll be sending out the links as well. And that focus is going to be more of our faculty. So we have a team of teachers that are just going to be sharing advice and words of wisdom with a group of questions that came directly from families and the eighth grade. And then on the 14th, as I said, at the same time, 7 o'clock is going to be a night very similar to this, but the only difference is it's going to be now with our senior class. So to Nate and Ella, Gavin, Kendall, and Jake, we know is at home trying to get online. I just want to say a sincere thank you for your candor, your opinions, and I'm so thankful and I'm proud of all of you that you are sachems. And so a thank you to all of you. And to our community, the fact that this night was unscripted. All we had was their questions, and really, I think their answers were from the heart. So I couldn't be prouder of you all tonight. So to our eighth graders and our families, we bid you farewell for tonight. Thank you for coming and being a part of this. And to the eighth graders, we want you to work really hard the rest of this year and live it up in the eighth grade. And we can't wait to see you very, very soon. And we can't wait to see you in those green shirts as you start strong. Everyone have a great night.